Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me at 1:59 p.m. on a Tuesday. My name is Victoria Martinez, and I am a first-generation Cuban American. I am a social media producer here at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, which I happen to be sitting at, which is lovely. And thanks so much for joining me today. Today, we're going to be talking about social media, the Met, and me more generally. So why not just say a little bit about myself? So who am I and how did I get here? So I was born and raised in Miami, Florida, and I grew up going to museums, and I even considered going to art school. I was actually a classically trained painter for a bit, and at the very last minute, I decided to go the art history route instead, and I found my way to New York in 2014. I went to Barnard College, and I graduated in 2018, and I began working at the Met in September of 2019. I grew up using social media. As I went through college, it became increasingly clear that social media was a valuable tool to increase awareness and to educate the general public about a traditionally exclusionary world. And I've been hooked on doing that ever since. That's how I found this job in the first place, and it's a passion that I continue to cultivate to this day. So one of the best questions, and the questions I get most frequently, is like, why social media? What are you doing? What's the value of me being on social media? So I figured it would be a really wonderful and easy kind of way to contextualize our reasoning with some global numbers that I've pulled here. So 3.96 billion people, or more than half of the world's global population, now uses social media, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. On average, people spend about 2 hours and 23 minutes a day on social media. And over 98% of these people spend their time across at least 4 different social media channels, so not just Facebook. We're talking Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, Tumblr. The list is really, truly endless. The Met chooses to focus on what we call the big three, which is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So I decided it would be kind of useful to kind of throw in some stats for those specifically. Facebook has 2.6 billion monthly active users, and making it the most widely used global platform. And about 69% of all adults in the US are actually using Facebook right now. Instagram comes pretty close behind at 1.08 billion active users, and 24% of US teens cite Instagram as their favorite social network, and you can find over 60% of teens on Instagram. Twitter has 134 million daily active users, which seems kind of low, but many, many more visit the page and platform per month. And Twitter is actually the world's 5th most visited website, and is considered an important news outlet, even for folks who may not ever create an account. So yeah, while there are seemingly infinite social media platforms nowadays, as I said, the Met uses the big three, and here we collectively serve over 10 million people around the globe. So you can just see here in my screen, just screenshots of how our profiles look to the public. And something that you may not initially guess is around 70% of our digital audience is international, meaning that the chances that they'll ever be physically inside the museum are few. And this is a really helpful fact because it helps shape us to answer our next question. What do we post and why do we do it? So what do we post and why? Naturally, people follow museums for a variety of reasons: to learn, to be inspired, or to stay informed about what's going on in the building. In order to stay active and relevant, we send out about 10+ posts a day across Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Each post works to serve our mission of educating the public, whether that be through informative posts, highlighting the collection or exhibition objects, drawing attention to upcoming free events, internship opportunities, or promoting the wealth of digital content that lives on our website. So here are a few examples that I've pulled from just recent posts that we've uploaded. And with every post, we try to reach art levels at every level. So from the seasoned professional who may have never studied art, but wants to learn a little bit more, we try to find moments to be cheeky, witty, contemplative, and never snarky. Not only because that more casual approach is best suited for social media, but because that approach works the best to bring our voice down from the ivory tower, so to speak. And that naturally lends towards the inclusion of greater voices in the conversation. So you'll see more casually, we're just using pretty casual language to kind of speak to a variety of posts. Some of these posts here are visitor posts. Some of them are just highlighting objects in a collection, while others do the work of highlighting upcoming internship opportunities. So if you think back to the first time you ever visited the Met, how did you feel? Many people see our facade and feel really intimidated or out of place or out of their comfort zone, and these feelings may prevent someone from ever entering the building. Through social media, we try really hard to showcase a variety of experiences alongside the breadth of our collection to show the multifaceted nature of our institution that oftentimes extends and at points expands beyond the building itself. My boss likes to say, if you're only producing content, but not actively engaging on social media, you're only doing about 50% of the work. Social media is meant for two-way connections, interactions, conversations, and meaningful dialogue. So how does the Met put social in social media? The first way, and probably the most exciting way, is through highlighting your visitor experiences. Whether someone has snapped a picture in our halls, hung out on the steps, or felt inspired by collections at home, sharing folks' experiences, enjoying the Met and its collections is a wonderful way to not only engage with the individuals whose photograph we're sharing, but also to make deeper connections to our followers who resonate with the images. Another way is engaging with the greater cultural community online. Participating in active dialogue and projects with other institutions is a wonderful way to foster relationships and reach new audiences. I've included a few examples here of some recent cross-institutional initiatives that the Met has participated in. You can see on the left a screenshot of a popular campaign called #MuseumBouquet, and it was a Twitter campaign where museums sent flowers to each other digitally. Many museums across the country and even across the world participated, and our Twitter feeds were full with flowers, and everyone had a lovely time. And museum on the right, you'll see Museum InstaSwap, which was a project that was actually initially started by New York social media managers. In normal times, we would physically travel to other museums and capture our visit on our respective museum's social media page. This year, obviously, we did things a little bit differently, and we extended the ask to museums around the globe and participated in an international swap. You'll see on the right the iconic Louvre Pyramid, which means that we partnered up with the Louvre. They introduced their followers to their building and their collection, and we did the same on their account across 3 separate posts. On the topic of more general initiatives, I've included some of the Met's most popular social campaigns here. The popularity of these campaigns attests to the wide scope of interest of our followers and reiterate the importance as well as the impact of making art, learning accessible and fun for all. So you'll see on the very left, Silent Gallery Tours. This is a screenshot. It's a video program that takes our visitors through different spaces as requested by them on Wednesdays. We've traveled through beloved spaces like the Egyptian Wing, Arms and Armor, as you see captured here. And every Sunday we ask for input, and that's how we shape the programming for the following week. Met Twinning, which is the next image of that really adorable pug, and our unicorn tapestry was created at the height of quarantine, and it was a really fun and creative way to connect our audiences during the height of the pandemic. We invited our followers to recreate a Met work at home, and a lot of other museums participated in similar initiatives that you might have seen on your own social media channels. Woman Crush Wednesday takes a popular hashtag across social media and uses it as a space to feature the work of women artists. We constantly get the question, where are the women artists in your museum? And we use this space particularly to highlight women every week. Tuesday Trivia is a weekly quiz that you can play on our Instagram stories. So that's at the top, when you click someone's profile and they have a kind of like a rainbow button on it, you click it and then a story appears every 24 hours. Here, people can play quizzes and kind of beef up their knowledge on art history. So I would be remiss to start a presentation about 2020 if I wasn't able to talk about what has shaped 2020. And obviously 2020 has been an especially transformative time for the Met social media as well as social media at large. During the height of the pandemic, people turned to our accounts for solace, beauty, and entertainment. While our physical building was no longer open, we quickly pivoted, as many institutions have, to hosting virtual events in addition to our already robust daily schedule. You can see a screen grab of our popular series, Drop in Drawing, which is a bi-weekly series in which we bring art lessons to the public through YouTube and Facebook. Unique campaigns like bringing the Met to Animal Crossing, which is a screen grab you can see on the lower left. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but That is a video game that was popularized at the height of the pandemic, and our digital team created a way in which you can integrate works from the Mets collection into the game. And that was really well received, and people really just enjoyed interacting with our collections in a digital way. You could also see a couple screen grabs from different behind the scenes moments from when the Met was closed to the public, but the activity remained. There were still people checking in on the museum, and we documented some of that and kind of let our followers in, and we connected to them during this time. So, also, our team has pivoted in response to the ongoing nationwide call for social justice, which reached the height of its media coverage back in June. In addition to the museum-wide commitments put forth by the Met's leadership, our team took the moment to reflect on the gaps within our schedule and think about what to do in response to that. A good example of this was celebrating artists' birthdays. So a longstanding tradition on our channels was celebrating the birthdays of famous artists, which historically have been white European men. Upon greater scrutiny, it became quite apparent that that was a trend, and we've since reassessed the list and have forefronted the birthdays of artists of color and used the space we have left to focus on highlighting more non-Western works in our collection. In addition to the strategy, we continue to prioritize a breadth of voices on our channels, from our teen interns who like to take over our account every once a month, as well as disabled artists who provide reflections on the works in our collection monthly. We continue to seek new ways to uplift and forefront diverse perspectives on our channels as much as possible. And now that I've been talking for about 11 minutes, you might be asking yourself, wow, this presentation has gone on for a while. When will she talk about metrics? When will she figure out, when will she give us the secrets to success, is a better way to say it. And the truth of the matter is, our team, especially here at the Met, takes metrics with a great assault. Social media is an ever-evolving landscape with ever-changing algorithms, and what goes into making a post successfully is partly brought upon by luck. All that to say, while traditional metrics like likes or impressions, which are how many times someone views your post, and shares, which is how many times someone shares your post, still influence our strategy, the main way in which we measure success is through community engagement. If we can inspire thoughtful comments and good dialogue through our work, we think ultimately that best measures how successful we are in educating and engaging with our audiences. So on my own time, this is a little bit just me personally. I like to serve my greater community through art education on my account, Latinx Art History, which is an account I started with a couple of friends of mine. And we all kind of had the same question: where are the Latinx artists in museums? We didn't see ourselves represented in the museum space. We found it really hard to educate ourselves on Latinx artists. We were always, a lot of the resources are typically in Spanish. So people who didn't have Spanish as their first language, or people who are second generation Latino identifying people, weren't able to access those materials. So through all these frustrations, this account came to be, and it helps me continue my art history practice. And it also allows a good avenue to collaborate with my friends, with artists, and similar accounts to bring underrepresented stories to the table. So we've collaborated with other accounts. There are plenty at this point that we've met through the wonderful power of social media, of people trying to do the same thing. And we've collaborated with them to an extent, and we've also kind of expanded our reach there. And I think all of that to say, the really most wonderful part of social media, and the reason why I keep coming back to it again and again, is that it gives you a particular freedom to create a new space free from physical constraints. So on this Latinx Art History channel, I don't have the physical constraints of a museum collection per se. I don't have the physical constraints of a museum building. So I'm really free to do what I want, given all the resources that the internet has available. I'm able to research artists. All that information is available online. I'm able to find their images, engage with their artworks, and then collectively gather that, synthesize that, and post it to our followers, who then learn and do the same. You make the rules and you choose who to dedicate your platform to. And as a result, previously overlooked stories can be elevated, your own work can be elevated, and that's kind of all the fun in it. So with that, I forgot to mention this earlier, but if you guys have any questions, you can feel free to put them in the YouTube chat. I know our lovely friends at NAWA sent me some of their questions, so I'm going to go ahead and start answering them. But if you guys have any more, just let me know and I'll answer them as well. So the first question I got was, how can we use social media to get curators to notice our work? Which is a lovely question. And I think the power in social media is the ways in which, again, to my earlier point of social, putting the social in social media. Another question that I had, kind of the reason I bring it up is I'm going to kind of join both of them. How do I grow my following so more people see my art? Both of these questions go hand in hand. So it goes a lot with community engagement. If you're not commenting on, let's say, a curator that you admire's work, if you're not commenting, if they don't know you exist, they'll never be able to see your work. So I think the best way to grow your following, the best way to get people to notice you is through community collaborations. So whether that be reaching out to someone by commenting on their picture, by messaging them privately and proposing a project or an idea, I found the best ways to grow any account is to enlist the help of others and to support others as well, because the situation doesn't go both ways. It's not one-sided. So what can other folks get from you? What can you provide for other people? And how can you both work together to kind of elevate each other? That's probably the best strategy in terms of that. Hashtags, of course, it's a popular saying that hashtags are ways in which people follow you. This is especially true on Instagram. People will find people who have their similar interests based on the hashtags that they use. This was once a guiding principle of Instagram. It's no longer that relevant. People find accounts through this thing called an explore page, which is just like a random kind of page put together by the algorithm. I wish I had a better, more scientific way of putting that. But people find accounts that way. But I'd say the best bet is by commenting on accounts that you admire, accounts that you follow, accounts that your friends follow, and getting noticed in that way. I feel like a lot of people read comments nowadays. They like to get information and other people's input. That's that social part of social media. So commenting, messaging people directly, that's the best way to get noticed in any sense of the word. And how do I know which social media site is best for me? Well, that's a really wonderful question, and it's really up to you. I know a lot of people tuning in are artists. So Instagram is a very visual platform and naturally works really well for art presentation. Facebook equally, if you find that a lot of your clients are on Facebook, I would go ahead and make a Facebook page in addition to your Instagram page. The really cool thing about Instagram and Facebook is that they're owned. Facebook owns Instagram. So anything that you post on Instagram can also be directly posted to Facebook. So you can manage these both platforms in tandem, and it's less work for you while serving two different audiences. I'd say that Instagram, for the art world in general right now, is where a lot of people learn about up and coming artists. So I would highly prioritize that one. But if you feel more comfortable on Facebook, and if it's something that speaks to you and something that you've had success with in the past, there's no need to hop into something. Just do what is most comfortable and most easy for you. But in both ways, both are visual platforms. I wouldn't suggest Twitter. Twitter is a very interesting space. Like I said earlier, a lot of people use it for news. And the Met has a large following on Twitter, but I feel like we both, on both Facebook and Instagram, we see more engagement overall. And it's a good just signal to the platform. Facebook and Twitter were made to be visual platforms. So in that sense, those are most of my questions. And I know it was about only 20 minutes. So if there are any more, let me know. And if not, I apologize for speaking a little too fast and getting through my presentation a little too fast. I hope it was helpful. And I hope that you guys got something out of it. I'll just stare at the camera awkwardly for a couple of minutes or a minute or so and give my lovely facilitator some time to send me the questions. And if there aren't, then I will call it an afternoon and we can all get about 10 minutes of our life back. All right, so with that, or wait, oh my gosh, I just hadn't seen any of the chat. All right, I'm sorry, I apologize. So there are actually some lovely chats, thank you. So what form of social media do you recommend selling your paintings? Again, I work at an institution and our main priority is as an education platform. So I wouldn't know too much about selling paintings. I think websites are fine, but again, the work that I do isn't commercial in any sense, so I'm probably not the best person to answer that question. But thank you for asking. Okay, well, all right. Thank you guys so much for joining, or thank you for joining live. If you're watching this recorded, thank you as well. And yeah, my Instagram handles are below if you're interested in the projects, Latinx Art History, and of course, Met Museum. If you guys don't already follow, please give us a follow. I promise you'll learn something new. That is my job, to make sure that you do. So with that, thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.